we're
Not
down a
good at
member or
this.
two, but welcome to the Infinite Ages team. Like, I guess Q&A, interview, chat,
All the above.
get along.
Yeah, get along. Just kind of like intro to the book and intro to us a little bit. Bunch of other stuff, I guess.
Yeah, so just welcome to an Infinite Ages video stream.
Startup. Yeah, it's kind of like a startup, I think.
Yeah, we're just here to just, I guess, answer some questions that we've made for ourselves to hopefully answer your guys' questions.
Let's get into it. I think this isn't going to get better till we get going. I think we're a little cold right now.
So, I guess the first question we kind of came up with is, what is the setting and theme of the game? Like, I guess, what is the game?
Yeah, I mean, well, okay.
We'll start with what is the game.
What is the game?
Yeah.
And then work our way into maybe setting.
Yeah.
Because there is a setting.
Yeah. So, what is the game?
I think that this comes up a lot, obviously, because people are like, "What is the book? What is you wrote a book? What is it?" I think the most
especially since like most of the time when like we tell people or talk to people about it or anything, like we're writing a book. Like a book? What are you writing about? What's the book about?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, actually, it's a game. It's a game.
Let's run it back. The way my bank account works is
what I meant was when I said that, what I meant was
the most apt description I've come up with, which
I'm ready to hear yours.
Yeah,
I've been using a term, but it's really pretentious, honestly. So
I don't think of it as a TTRPG really, because it is so rules light, and so like it is. It definitely is, right? But I don't think of it in that way in my head. I think of it more.
You kept it and tried to make it so rules light. I was like, but it's a game. It needs rules. I kept every fucking like hammer and mechanics and like dice rolls.
I know. Like, this needs rules. This needs rules. So that because of that, I consider it more of a narrative storytelling engine. I think that is the most apt description you could give it. Yeah. Because that is what it's for. It's like, you're starting a story with your friends, and this is a thing to help you establish what happens in that story, and in a way that's like acceptable to everyone. So there isn't that one hero or whatever, one power. I think I like that description the most, and I've heard a few people say it, like as far as media and stuff goes too. What's your description of our book?
I've been calling it really pretentious sounding.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to say it, dude.
No, you got to say it now.
Okay. Universally adaptive TTRPG.
Okay, I immediately have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Because that is very pretentious. Yeah, but also, and that is what it is. It's also a very apt description. But my problem with that, or like not really my problem, but my worry with that is like, and it's been my worry with the whole game, right? But when we made the shift, because to tell a little bit about how the game came about is more like from Space Age, which was like this TTRPG that was light in my head, and I used it for my homebrew settings. And then the last year is when I started working on it. Because I actually have a timestamp. I looked at my Facebook. I have a timestamp of when I wrote that first, like kind of like what I want to achieve with this book. Mm-hmm. And so starting from Space Age and moving into Infinite Ages, what I'm thinking more is this book is going to be a little bit lenient more towards space right now, right? Like a little bit. It's a little bit lenient more towards space right now. It was
originally a sci-fi TTRPG. It was pure sci-fi.
Yeah.
It was all sci-fi. It was Space Age. It was, about a sci-fi TTRPG that was supposed to be like kind of grounded and like in a sci-fi setting. It's like you can die easily. Like that's what it is.
So I think when it becomes universally acceptable is that it started at the highest level of like what we consider technology at some level, and then we went. But it works backwards most of the way. We just need to give it a little bit more.
Yeah, because like technology.
So what I'm worried about, or like what I'm excited about more, is like when you say universal, the idea that when people start playing it universally, what issues are they running into, and then what can we do to kind of bridge those gaps?
Yeah,
because I know there's some bridging that we could still be doing.
So
I look forward to.
Another reason that I say like universal and stuff like that is also because I'm a goofy little man, setting because it's set in a vast universe.
No, I got it just because I know the setting. I know the setting, and that's why I was like,
yeah,
that's
it's also more of a TTRPG based off like skills and stuff like that. I was gonna say skill based, but that means something totally different, like game terminology.
Yeah,
but skill based, but not how
skill based leveling system.
Yeah,
tabletop role playing game.
Yeah,
made for universal settings. The description of it can be very additive. Yeah. Yes.
So there's that. But got that on the question, like what the game.
Yeah.
Is, so.
Yeah. What the game is. Yeah, I think that's basically.
I guess we can actually move on to the first question, which is what is the setting option?
I think this is the most defined part of that 2-part question, right? Like this is the more defined part we actually have.
Yeah, we can go into it more. We can talk about like the original setting and stuff a bit more, like Space Age, and how we've kept that setting and theme. We just don't talk about it as much, I guess.
Well, so what I've done a lot of is adapting it. And thinking about really how does this thing work. So when you're the game takes place in the USSI,
the Universal Star System of Interest.
Yeah. Okay. So it takes place there, and the whole idea of it is that 400 years before the game takes place, there was before this setting takes place, rather. 400 years before the setting takes place, 4 factions from 4 different races come out of our solar system, or forced out of our solar system by a hive mind, right? And so that was that was like Space Age exact setting. That was all it was. But then I've had to think about how it could be adapted to us using this system universally through multiple settings and ages. And the way I think of it is, if there was like a house or even a grouping of people, like 5,000-6,000 people that were like, hey, we're going to go colonize this planet. Don't mess with us ever again. We don't want to ever have to do this. This was ridiculous, and we lost so many people, and this was a pain and whatever. And they let go of technology and kind of doing that like reboot thing. You know what I mean? Like where it's like, I don't want to be a part of this technological drive to be always better. I don't know. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I think it's like we could have taken like a few steps back, and it's more or less like we originally in like Space Age talked about just like there's so many planets in the USSI, and some of them are like lower tech levels and stuff like that. And it was kind of a part of like treaties and laws like don't get too involved with those like lower tech level planets. But obviously, there's going to be some adventurers or bounty hunters or just criminals trying to escape and stuff like that will land on those planets. So,
well, I think that's like the part of any TTRPG that's ever existed. I think there's always like some amount of like crossover. Like people have been adapting, like to name like a few things, like different animes, cartoons, their favorite movies, like anything into a system. And generally, I think with our setting especially, it becomes a little easier because you're like, the whole book is narrative, is setting light is what I would classify it as, right? Like it's like we splash a little bit of setting stuff in.
We made a setting for it, but that's more or less for ourselves and just keep the interest.
Yeah, it's like here's a way that we made this work. You do not have to use it.
And like the setting's so vast that like your campaign and setting can be within our setting, but based on like a low tech level planet or just like any planet, and still technically be a part of like our
USSI. Yeah. I think that part of the game makes it very, very fun to think about, because if you do have, a couple groups of friends that you play role playing games with, and you're like, hey, we should pick up this thing and start playing Infinite Ages, and you think of this setting wise, we're still in the same setting, even though we're not on the same planet. So there could be crossover type episodes. I like to imagine any game as an episode. But there could be like crossovers where you have 2 or 3 of one party and 2 or 3 of another party that are from different worlds of the same like tech level, or even different tech levels slightly, and cross mingle them. And then they have to like, one part of the team goes to this GM and the other part of the team goes to this GM. Like the idea of those like things happening excites the shit out of me about this
game. Kind of like how old school cartoons where Batman teams up with Scooby-Doo one time, and then there's another time where he's teaming up with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Does that mean Scooby-Doo and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles exist in the same universe now?
Yes, that's like my exact thought process. I think it'd be so fun to think about it when it comes to like the website too, right? Like when we do more website stuff and more forum stuff and we get our Discord grown a little bit more, having that opportunity for everybody to be like, hey, we're technically all in the same world, so this is never going to be too game breaking, and we can keep a lot of things canon, and that's really fun.
Oh yeah, speaking of the website, in the background now is our website. It has the timer on it, and you can go here to see about Infinite Ages.
Yeah, www.infiniteages.com.
Yeah, www.infiniteages.com. Learn about us a bit. But you can also make an account, and after you do that, you can buy our book, and you'll be able to download that book after you buy it from the downloads list. I'm not typing it right now; it's not popping up. But after you buy it, you pop up right here, and you can download it whenever you want, as long as you're signed in. And anytime I make an update, you just download that update for free.
Yeah, which I mean is like another thing is too. You could literally help your friends make characters, download the sheets off the website, play a few games, and see if you want to if everybody wants to buy the book. Yeah. It's been a learning process. I think is like a very key term. Is like it's been a learning process. All of this, like the website, I had to.
Oh yeah, the website was all made by Donaven and Austin. And it's like been big learning experience for both of them in a lot of ways. And
that is very true.
And so it's basically done by two people and
held together with spit and glue, with spit, duct tape, and glue, and some sticks that I found in the woods.
Super rubber duct tape.
Yeah,
it's called. But that was talk about the setting, and I didn't really talk about much of that theme.
A theme for. I mean, you kind of tapped into it a little bit. It's like it was designed as a space game, so it's very dangerous in comparison to a lot of other TTRPGs that are hack and slash.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that was it. Just grounded, I guess, because it's about your skills, and how you level up as a character is by developing your character by using skills more, and whenever you use those skills enough times, those skills level up. You get better at them, and once you get level up enough skills and get better with a lot of skills, your character levels up. But you don't really gain health every level. So you have a low amount of health pretty much the whole time.
I can think of the armors and stuff that we offer, especially because we've already kind of like touched on like having layered armor, things like that. That's going to be your reliant at higher level. So like the idea of like at higher level, you're still weak if you were caught in your PJs. But if you're and like you should be, I think. Relatively, you should be pretty, worse for wear, and we have the armor point system to kind of bolster that.
Yeah, so that's also why what Donovan's talked about a few times is it's more narrative, where you're supposed to rely on your skills and your abilities to try to avoid or get out of combat, like as best you can. Even though we have several combat skills, we literally have melee, gunning, unarmed, and then cold strikes and cold shots.
Yeah,
and
5 out of the 24, right?
Yeah. Are like combat based, but they're all like separate ways.
I think combat. That is probably the core of the game was built around that. So like whenever I first started designing the game for homebrew uses was like, oh cool. I really like having skills in games, but why can't these do more for me? Yeah, why is it just like a number goes up?
Yeah, it very much is just like, oh, I know how to do the skill now after I like gain the level or pick the feat. I didn't learn how to do I progressively.
I have never tried this thing or anything like that. I just gained a level, so I get 3 more proficiencies. Okay,
it's like, oh man, now I'm just really good at picking pockets.
Huh? Or I have disadvantage when I'm swimming. Why?
Oh, it's all right.
Get good at swimming.
1 feet, so you gotta learn.
Get good at swimming. How? I've been swimming.
What do you dude? Just jump in the water? Like, what do you want me to do?
No, you got to go slay a few monsters and then come back, and then you'll be better at swimming. What? Yeah, like, that's kind of like that's another thing I like about the game a lot. I'm probably the most proud of is that it's not the XP or milestone type debacle, because it is skill. Yeah, it's skills and you can do
you can technically do milestones, or you can technically choose to start a campaign at a certain level. We don't discuss it too much in the book, I don't think. I think we tried to.
There's essentially a note.
Yeah, there is a small note because it was something that we tested like very recently, like late.
Yeah, it was haphazard how we tested it, and didn't want to officially have it in the book, but it is like mentioned in there.
Yeah, and that's more or less like, hey, you want to start at level 5? Well, you have to have like
you literally the only thing you have to do is
like skills.
Yeah, it'll say like how many skill levels you get at this level, and then you just follow the actual, because we have a table set up in the leveling system, which we could. I mean, we could probably put that up at some point. Yeah. But like I think the leveling system's very easy to follow as far as
I could probably sign in and download PDF right now.
You could, yeah. If you wanted to. I don't know. I don't know if we should necessarily or shouldn't. I don't know. I think it's valuable information. I think it's pretty valuable. But the table is very simple. Yeah. I mean, it's not like super like anything crazy you're gonna get anything crazy out of the design of the book or anything like that. Because
the design of the book needs work.
I taught myself how to design the book in less than
a week. Yeah.
Yeah. So I taught myself and designed it in weeks.
Basically, what we're saying is, be ready for like a lot of hot fixes, a lot of design fixes.
That is a big thing too that we should mention, is that all of the changes that are going to be happening to the player's guide, as soon as you purchase that Infinite Ages Genesis book, you will get any changes that we need to make to it. And we're willing to take suggestions and things like that from our Discord.
Oh, yeah. Join the Discord, too, which you can join from our website. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
The socials right here. Welcome to Discord. And wham, bam, join it. You'll be there, and you'll be able to, ask us questions, get news and notifications anytime we make changes. And
yeah, and we got to do we were talking about doing like versions and stuff like that too. Yeah. So that would be, I would recommend highly, if you're going to purchase the book, at least just join the Discord, and like put it in your muted servers and then check it every other month or something. And just like, oh, okay, cool. They updated the book. I can go fix that. Or, oh, cool. That's been bugging me. Like,
yeah, and it might be a good way to get the notification that we're starting a stream and stuff like that too.
Yeah. I think a lot of the content that we have in the book right now is really well thought out, put together. I'm very proud of like the book as far as it is, but there are just some things like design and stuff like that I'm always gonna kind of question, I think.
So like going through the lists of the game and the setting and theme and stuff like that, there's a few questions that have to do with it here that we've made, or like here that we've been given. And the next one is, how detailed is the world building in the game? So
how detailed? Yeah. I like its settings light. Like
it's settings light, but you do have like a whole like page at the end of the book about like creating an adventure.
Oh, as far you're talking about like for like GM help kind of thing?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, how detailed is the world building in the game? Yeah, it's about the world.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess I was thinking in terms of our setting, as far as our world goes, it just says, here's this very big scope. Put yourself in it if you want. It's really cool if you do, because there are, like I was saying before, like cross episode opportunities and different things you can do that way. As far as like the adventuring stuff that I put in the book, it's mostly for what I would say like new GMs or people that are relatively like newcomers to the style of game. But I think there's a lot of stuff in there that like anybody would just need reminding of. Like when I was writing it and like putting it together in my head, I was thinking about like more, what am I forgetting sometimes as a GM, and like what am I, like things like that I don't always have in the forefront of my mind and maybe should. So it goes over like your tempo in your game, like how often things are happening, your descriptions, discovering new things, and how to make lore in your world more exciting and interesting. I think those things are like hard usually to manage, and it's nice just to have like a little step by step to go here. And we have that at the bottom of the book, but you go through it and you basically can build your own set.
Yeah, here's some things to think about, or like, if you have some issues, just go through these steps and you can come up with something that's pretty decent and fun for people probably.
Or ask us on Discord.
Yeah, ask us on Discord, and like we have a whole forums channel, and you can ask us, or if there's more people in there, it's open for anybody to answer your questions pretty much.
Yeah,
because like trying to build like a community of people that are there to be helpful and stuff like that. So it'd be very cool to see people work together with like a setting to help somebody build a game.
That's there's a lot of big exciting things that come with that too. I think really interesting.
So, what kind of atmosphere or mood does the setting evoke?
I mean, I think it's like it is kind of cool to think of an infinite kind of scope to start with any role playing game. I think,
start with any. Yeah, I mean, we streamed a couple times back whenever it was still Space Age and stuff like that. We have like a few, like mods back. Like 3.
I think we only got to episode 2.
Oh, 2?
Yeah,
it was only 2. It felt like it.
They were like 3.5 long, like kind of episodes, and I was really excited about the third one, but we haven't got to do it because we've been working on the book so much.
But yeah, that was still back whenever it was Space Age. So it was all sci-fi. We were in a ship, stuff like that. But at home, just hanging out, testing things. We've done. I've done a fantasy setting, and Donovan's run like a Victorian era kind of setting.
Yeah.
And so it kind of just gives you the grand scope of like, hey, yeah, you can be on any planet you want, be on whatever tech level you want. You don't know like how far this planet's aged or like where they're at.
And knowing that, like I was saying before, like if you use our setting that's kind of in it, knowing that you have a starting point to go, okay, where were these people when they first like got to this planet or started doing things on this planet? I think that becomes a very interesting thought, like experiment immediately, and it kind of because in the very beginning of what I created for people to kind of build settings and build worlds for themselves, the first thing I always think about is like, what inspiration do I have for even doing this? Because if I don't have any inspiration behind it, or like any feeling behind it, or any emotion tied to it, it's really hard for me to like get into it. Like if someone says, "Hey, I want to play in this world," I'll be like, "Yeah, if that doesn't vibe with me, I can't do it." Because I did a lot of like, like selling services for like being a TTRPG, like running games for people, and a lot of the time it would be a little harder to get my mind into it until I found that inspiration, I think, behind whatever world they wanted.
Last one here is: are there any particular historical or cultural influence on the setting? Pop culture, kind of.
Pop culture
on the creation of the book, not really like the setting. I mean, kind of the setting.
Well, yeah. there's a few like lines you could draw, and we'll let you draw them for yourself. I think that is like if you want to know more about that, you start drawing those lines yourself. Because
just ask me in the Discord server.
Yeah. I'll let him throw himself under the bus. I'm not doing it. Thanks.
All right, yeah. Time next on to the second set of questions out of 10. All right, I'm gonna skip some of these. No,
you should though. Like if they're not.
What kind of system does? What kind of? Yeah, dice does the system use? Or what kind of system does it use?
Yeah,
something like that.
Just a 7 standard array. I think.
Yeah. So just like the D20, D12s, the D10 and percentile, D8, D6.
I'm trying to think of when we actually request people these. So a lot of the time,
I mean, it's weapons and like the superpower set will really vary on like the dice we use.
I'm trying to figure out if you actually would need a D100 for this game. And I can't remember exactly.
There was a superpower, but I reworded it because I didn't want to do it after very late, literally a couple weeks ago before, whenever I was redoing it, reformatting them to make it easier to move over to the book and look nice. I saw that, and there was one that was yes, you make a double image of yourself, and it gives your opponent a 66.66 chance to miss you or whatever. And it's
yep, I read that one again.
Oh, it's so bad. So I was like, okay, but what's the armor increase of that? Because that'd be what it translates to more or less is how easily you're being hit. It just makes you harder to hit. So it was
I think in general running with I think percentile can slow your game down significantly. in in what I've done at least, like percentile can be slow. And they're usually used for such weird, rare occasions. I prefer just to roll a d20. Like ones are obviously 5% or below, right? And if you assign 5%,
whole system's kind of based around it, like how many options like the percentile like gives you.
Yeah,
like because there's some where it's like, yeah, you roll above this number, and that's your like fail or succeed. Or the other time, like, yeah, roll D100 and there's 100 options. Find out.
Yeah, those one I love tables like that, but I don't want to do that while I'm playing a game.
you don't want to like look through the.
I don't want to look through a table of like potentially 100 options if there's if there's a table that only has 20 options and I'm rolling a percentile for it.
And you gotta
Why? Why?
Put your finger on the page and like move it over and be like, oh, that's all right.
Yeah, especially if like the table isn't perfect. Like if the table isn't perfect, I feel like I have such a tough time with that too.
Yeah, and is it not used percentile in any of the buildings? Because you're the one who made most of it.
So all the building tables are based off your ability to read a table, and then right because you have our gear crafting tables or any of our crafting stuff. A lot of it is you'll have your scale of how much this thing is going to require as far as material usage, and then you'll have a cost. How expensive is each material for this thing? And as you go through it, you'll find that there are kind of like set tier lists. So there's D tier through S plus, I think is what I did, or just S.
Yeah.
And
no, there's S plus because it's like beyond the scope.
Yeah, there is a beyond the scope. Yeah. So there could be like S plus or X tier or whatever you want to make it. At your personal tables, I think that you'll come up with it because there's literally like 6 or 7 already there.
Yeah, you gotta be a god tier.
But even those, you just like you find where you want to put your player at. Like you're like this seems like an accurate spot, and when you do that, they literally just roll their skill checks to start building something. And while you're rolling skill checks, you're getting better at it. You're like everything's going better. So while you're working on a project as a character to create something or do something, it's always D20. So I'm not really sure if there is a D100 roll in the book. So I think that would be the only dice you could get away with. But everything else is definitely like, oh yeah, I got to roll a D10 for this specific ability and a D12 for this gun, and things like that are going to happen quite often. What do we got next?
We pretty much answered a lot of the questions in that category besides like the last one. And it's like, are there like advantages, disadvantages, like what types of like special dice like rolls come up?
So we do checks, challenges, opposed rolling, and we do have advantage, double advantage, double disadvantage. I think that's probably all of them. The checks are just for basic understanding if you succeed in a skill.
Yeah.
A challenge is a equal exchange between skills, so it's like wisdom versus wisdom specifically, and then opposed is for any time that there'd be a wisdom versus dexterity or something along those lines.
So basically, checks are just like wisdom check. You roll your d20 and you add your like wisdom stat to it. And like, did you hit this number? Wisdom check. And then contested,
opposed, and then challenged.
Yeah.
So you have a challenge, which is you versus another opponent using the same skill.
Yeah.
And then opposed is you versus an opponent using a different skill or a different attribute.
So like challenge, you and your opponent both roll the same stat. So you both roll Constitution and add your Constitutions, and figure out the winner, which happens in combat and stuff when you're trying to restrain somebody or push somebody, stuff like that.
Yeah, that can come up several times. Yeah.
Then the opposed, like you roll Constitution and your opponent rolls Dexterity to try to get out of a grapple or restrain.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the skills in the game do certain things for that as well, like giving you advantage or giving you big modifiers or giving you different ways and conditions for you to get higher abilities. And that's what the skills are a lot of, because they're all leveled individually.
Yeah, and then advantage is just you roll your d20 twice, but we have double advantage, meaning if you already have advantage and you're given it again by any means, you just roll twice, and then whatever the result is, you add +5 to it.
Yeah.
In addition to +5.
And you can get double disadvantage, which is the
same,
exact opposite.
But opposite. So you get -5. You roll twice, take the lower number, and then add -5 to it. In addition, whatever other.
It hurts. It hurts it hurts so vividly. Oh, also, I guess a pretty big difference from most is that all of our critical hits are between 19 or 20. Is when you crit on a target. So it's anything above that 90% on your roll, specifically on your roll, not on modifiers or anything like
that. Yeah. So I think that's most of that.
Yeah, I think that's good.
How many players can the game accommodate? Is the game better suited to smaller or larger groups?
I'll let you answer that one first.
Me?
Yeah, you answer that one first.
Well,
I want to know what your opinion is, because I think my opinion is very different.
As somebody who is GM for large groups, and then somebody who is GM for small groups, I much prefer the intimacy of a small group of 2, maybe 3 people to GM for.
We've talked about that.
Yeah, so I think just any RPG is better that. And I think it's more or less because I'm more of a storyteller, narrative person, being able to explore the world I build and have the players have fun and enjoy the things that I tell them, or enjoy the world I've given them. Whenever your group gets bigger, it's seems to be a bit harder for everybody to have a chance to enjoy these things, really delve into or engross themselves in. But I don't know. We haven't played, or at least I haven't played in a huge group with this game yet. So I'd love to see how it does with a group of 5+ people.
I got a story for you. Infinite Ages. So we had 9 people in one game around 3 tables. Because we had stack tables kind of off kilter and kind of weird. I was sitting at the head of all the tables, GMing for everyone. The thing about it depends on the crowd. It depends on the people. There are certain individuals that will thrive very well in a setting with more people to play with. So I can name a few people that I can think, or a few people that I can think of right now, or professionals or something like that. There's always 6 or 7 of them in that sense, and I feel like that can be very good. But you have to, at that session 0 level, after your characters are created and everybody's happy and excited, talk about kind of some of those real things, hey, this is 7 people or 8 or 9 people we are playing with. We have to make sure that we're sharing, and we have to make sure, and having that just open, honest conversation, I think could really change the dynamic of having a lot of people. Because a lot of people, that game specifically was probably one of the most fun parties that I've ever ran for, crews, groups, and they were on they had their own ship. They had a crew below them, so they were the heads of their departments individually, and it was super fun. I don't think I've ever had that kind of experience, but it was just a joyous thing, and everybody was interested in what other people were doing, and being able to take a step back from the story and go, this is a collective, collaborative story. It's not just about me, or it's not just about him, and that thought process, I think, really can. If you just get that perspective in your player's head, I think it can make a big table look really cool.
Yeah, and I think we both talked about the next question. This isn't how does the number of players affect the gameplay experience?
Right, and it just slows it down a little bit, and then you have to share more.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty much it. Bless you.
Ooh. The last question there is, are there any adjustments or modifications that need to be made for different player counts? Not system-wise. We don't have any adjustments. If you're playing with 3 or less people, you have to change this and do this instead. There's nothing really like that.
I will say, I think Infinite Ages being the way it is, if your players know exactly what their characters can do, and you guys do get into a combat, because I know combat with 9 or so players can be very difficult. But if you get in a combat in Infinite Ages, it can be a lot less if they know exactly what their characters can do.
Yeah, and
but that's kind of the same for
I think like the other thing with Infinite Ages as well is whenever you get into combat, there's going to be like a good number of players who are like, I don't want to be involved in this. Not everybody's going to be like jumping head first, be like, oh, I'm trying to get myself killed. I'm trying to shoot this. Because a lot of people might not even have weapons. Like,
yeah, that's a very common thing in this game. You don't just get weapons. You don't just have
so
these things.
like a lot of times, like combat is very much like how a narrative based like TTRPG storytelling experience. Like only a couple of the players or characters are going to be like the guards, the like martial people, and everybody else is going to be like more skill based or utility, and like you don't want those people in the combat. You don't want them a part of it a lot of times.
And it's weird. You'd think it'd be less rewarding, but after playtesting it, like through many games, many iterations of it, I would say like it is more rewarding when somebody like our game earlier.
Definitely more rewarded to find your way out of a combat or
like using your powers, using your utility, using your skills to go. Let me actually not even interrupt this party. Let me just make this a little bit easier for the side I want to win or for the thing that I want to happen. Mm-hmm. And then I can walk out of here scot-free. And like those thought processes, I think, really make the game like night and day like difference.
Yeah, I think like the biggest thing, like you're the one who's playing a big party, and I don't know how many sessions you guys did.
Well, and also the game wasn't at this level.
Yeah.
So whenever I did that, that was still my homebrew setting. It was still like, it was actually, I'd say probably a little simpler still than it is now, like as far as different things, but the players were doing things that we've built out in the game now for
the biggest thing I'd be scared of with a big party, at least that the only thing I can really see becoming an issue is the skill rolls not being handed out. So not everybody getting like an equal chance to roll for skills. Like that.
I will say though, it is very nice that you have especially if you save your character sheets online, or if you just like a lot of people will leave their character sheets with me whenever I'm GMing. Like, okay, cool, I'll take your character sheets back, and I can look at
GM responsibility.
Yeah, like I like it being a GM responsibility because I go look at your character sheets and I'm like, hey, he didn't roll for this. He didn't roll for this, and then
he didn't roll for this. Or like, oh, he didn't write down that thing I said earlier. Or
that's definitely going to be a big problem now.
I didn't know he had this spell. Let me fucking come up with something.
Let me mess with him. Yeah. I think that's really fun and probably like the lowest used like secret that GMs don't give out is that like if they give you your character sheet, I'm messing with you. Like if you leave your character sheet with me. But the other part of the game is it's really cool to be able to test engagement as you're playing. Yeah. So if you have only 5, because 9 is definitely a very. I do not recommend it for somebody that is new or even like some seasoned people. It is very, very challenging. Even in this game, and this game is a narrative based like TTRPG, but I will say like it's really nice to be able to go and hey, so and so hasn't leveled up. Why haven't they leveled up? Or like, are they just one skill roll away from having all of their having a bunch of skills, or have they not been rolling enough? Have they not been playing enough? You can literally just test engagement right there at the scene, and then talk to them later and be like, "Hey, everybody else is level 4 now, and you're still on level 3 or something. What's going on there, or how am I not doing this, or what am I doing wrong?" And I think that's a very easy because a lot of times GMs also have that "Hey, did everybody have fun?" Yeah.
Did you enjoy yourself?
I feel like there's a lot of pressure.
Well, yeah, no, I think it's really nice, especially now. Almost every time I play with people, online and in person, after the session, everybody's very immediately "Oh, I should tell it Jeff or the GM," but "Oh, I had a good time. That was fun. Thank you for running."
Yeah. I think the community's improved significantly. So anyone you play with knows if you had a good time, make sure that's known, man, because we don't know. We're not mind readers like that kind of thought process.
GM definitely doesn't know. And like another thing for like just GMs in general, because I know like Austin has that problem too. And it's like a common problem where it's like you make a mistake as a GM and you think it's the most noticeable. You think, oh crap, I messed up. I made this. Players are ignorant of your mistakes most. Like
you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know.
So it's like if you as a GM like miss something, and you're like it's like bugging you the whole time. It's like
just roll with it.
Yeah.
just roll with it, you know? That's what I like to do. What do we got next?
Yeah, so what is the intended play style? Combat heavy, story driven, which you've already talked about a lot.
Right. Yeah, if we've talked about it, just go ahead and skip it, because I know we've talked about it a lot already.
Yeah, I'm reading through all these differences placed on different elements. Are there any specific player roles or archetypes are important to the play style? That last one's kind of an interesting question. Are there any specific player roles or archetypes that are important to the play style? We don't have classes or anything. It's you.
I think specifically we don't.
Yeah, we have 4 races, and even then, you're allowed to create your own race, just kind of using the guidelines of the races we already have. Because again, it's universal star system. There's plenty of aliens there. There's plenty of different races and species and stuff.
Culturally,
yeah. The ones we have are just the ones that have grown and adapted to like largest and have become like the bigger factions and races in the universe. But that's in our setting. In your setting, screw it, whatever you want. And then we have professions and schooling, or like academies, and colleges, and stuff like that. So you pick your profession, and it'll have like a set of skills that levels up as your character levels up, and there's like on certain like level intervals. And then you have your college, academy, school, training. The training you go to, and it'll be like you go to this college and you study this thing at this college, and that'll decide some of your other like base stats and stuff. But it's not all linked together. If you pick a certain race, you can't be like this thing, or if you pick this profession, doesn't mean you have to go to this college. Like you can
mix and match.
Yeah, you can mix and match as what you want. And then we also have superpowers as well. And
yeah, I think the layer of like texture that you can give your character before it's even in the world is that. So I think 12 times 10 is 120. Right? Like I'm not crazy. Is that right? Yeah. So there's 12 professions and there's 10 different superpowers. Yeah. And then that's not including trainings, which I believe there's probably like 15 or 16.
There's 4 to 5. There's one that has 5.
Oh yeah, so there's 5 total tables, and then each of them has a different trainings that modify different skills. But if you keep skills out of it, because skills is a little bit cheaty to say that makes your character super unique, because there's other people that have skills, but and there's other people that have superpowers and professions. But to say that you could customize your character from exactly what skill level you have in certain skills, exactly what profession you are, exactly what superpower you are, exactly what training you've been to describe how your character knows these things and why they know these things, and then running through our persona builder, which we've done a lot on, as far as like making sure you can build or like put together a backstory that is comprehensive, more so than this is just a few things about this character. It's like you can put together why this character exists and how they walk the earth or the world.
Yeah, so in game, in setting, specific roles or archetypes that are important to the playstyle? Yes, no. Yes and no. Like, it depends on the player, it depends on the GM, it depends on what you want your player to be, like what role you want them to be. You're not forcing any role. Like, just because you're paladin man doesn't mean you gotta be the tanky big damage dealing paladin man who's a lazy Jesus.
I think that was a big thing about it today. We just want to get away from that archetype style play.
It's like, no, I was an adventurous, or like I was an engineer, and I went to college for like nutrition, and my superpower is like air manipulation. I pilot the ship now. It's a junker. I found it. I built it myself. I pilot. I run it. I run like
Yeah,
I take people. I take people across the like border of planets. Back alley, like back ways and stuff like that. That can't afford
I think it gives characters a lot of life. Like having that, like what you were just saying, like really all he just did was pick a profession, a training, and a superpower randomly, and you have that character that you have to explain now. And because we have all of our stuff is able to be rolled on a die, like a D10 for superpowers, a D12 for professions. You could roll for training as well. So if you roll for this stuff, you just all of a sudden have a character that you got to figure out, man, and then you start kind of as you're you got to figure that character out, and then as you start figuring it out, you're also in real time seeing him or her or them develop into whatever they're like that character is doing now. Because like as soon as you start playing the game, you're going to start making decisions, start having to roll, and then it's going to change the character.
Yeah. Let's see. Are there any unique mechanics or rules that set it apart from other TTRPGs? What are some of the most unique or innovative? I'm just going to ask all the questions per thing.
Yeah.
Or just go through. What are some of the most unique or innovative aspects of the game? How do the mechanics or rules affect the gameplay experience? Are these mechanics or rules easy to learn and incorporate in the gameplay? Yeah, I think the rules mechanics are easy to learn. Pretty simple. You roll your skills, you play the game. Everything's pretty much set for you. It talks about in the book. Even the building and creation's pretty simple and easy. It talks about how much you have to spend, what materials it's going to use, stuff like that, how long it would take.
I think it's not very far off, like what you would expect as far as rulings go. What changes is just how those rulings apply, or like how those rulings get applied.
Yeah, a lot of general the same and easy rules to make it easier to understand and comprehend for people. The most I don't want to say thing that sets it off apart from most things is our skill system. I think would be the biggest thing.
I think it goes probably skill system, not having classes, superpowers being level, like tree leveled. That's very interesting to see. So yeah, I guess we could talk about that a little bit. Superpowers are really the most unique thing because like skills are very simple to get. Okay, so you get skills. Every skill level counts as a level required for the next character level. And then once you get that character level, you get more skills and you get another character level. Very simple.
Yeah, I think
the superpowers become
the big reason I've talked about superpowers a lot and stuff like that is mostly because it's so different for everything else in the settings. Like how rounded the setting is. Your skills, all this stuff. And it's oh yeah, guys, there's superpowers. There's 10 superpowers. They're tree based, so there's actually 19 powers in each superpower, and you get points every level to basically buy and build your superpower. And it's just okay, but how does that fit into the setting? And it's oh yeah, any way you want it to.
Well, it's partially any way you want it to. It's also part of the USSI. It's part of that setting that we give you is that, well, when they came here to this universe, to this universal star system, of interest, the idea was, okay, how did they make it? Because they had to have some luck, and their luck was they stumbled upon these crystals and used them as power sources for their vehicles and for their houses and homes and colonies. And then when they started using those, they started noticing people that were working near them or people that got near them. Sometimes the crystal would choose to give that person a power, and then that could also be handed down genetically. We talk about that a lot in the book too. But you don't absolutely need to use the superpowers. I recommend it because I think it's a fun flavor thing to do for the game. And that's a lot of what the superpowers are too, is they're not very straightforward, oh, this thing does just this and it does damage and it's good. Good damage done. That's you know what I mean? That's the big thing about this game is you're not trying to min max. You're just trying to have a good,
and even if at level 1, at base level, you can do your best to min max, it won't set you apart. It won't make your character that much different than a person that's it won't give you leaps or bounds ahead. It won't it won't feel bad. The person who didn't min max won't be well, this guy is a god now, and I can't do anything.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm being a little baby boy. It's no. It's oh, he's really good at that one thing, but I can do everything else. He can't cook for himself. He can't fix the engine. He doesn't know how to use a roll of duct tape. He can't speak to these people.
But he can fight real good.
Yeah,
Cool, man. You just
but
made yourself a good guard.
he can shoot the gun real good though, and he can take 2 hits instead of 1.
I think that's the big thing about the game too, because we have hit points are balanced as far as, because no one can get more hit points really. It's all, everybody starts with 8 plus their constitution, so you can do like a little bit to make that different. Like you could try to make
and
get
like
more
at level 1, your constitution, I think the highest you can get is like 3. Like it's like
and that would be pushing it.
And that is the min max. So like that is, you put everything you have in trying to get your constitution the highest, so you could have like the most hit points, and it's like you get 3 more.
And now you're not good at anything.
Yeah,
like you're good at athlete and melee and like unarmed, and that's it.
well, even then, like it has to do with your training, and I think like the athlete and like unarmed thing is other options to like being just
it could be like initiative or something. Like it might be one of those. I think there's a lot of like not being able to min max because the game is set up in such a way that it's really like
do your hardest to min max. It won't help you, like honestly.
I think you get like in some games you can get like 500% increase. In this game, I think you could probably get like 20. Like
even like the thing that help you the most would be like picking the skill that is like quickest to increase, or like quickest to, like
that'll be the only min maxing is like I'm definitely taking perception because it's easy, but almost anyone kind of knows that rule anyways. Like perception is going to be good,
and any TTRPG, it's like perception and like constitution or like endurance or like whatever your health stats based on, those 2 things, like that's
the bolts of every character.
That's the god things. Let me have those.
Yep.
All right, how much player agency is given in character creation?
All of the character. I think that's another thing that sets it apart too. Is your GM is not telling you when to level if you don't use milestone. So and that takes a lot of weight off of you as a GM.
And you don't have to worry about like gaining experience from like killing monsters or doing things. It's all like based off your rolls and your successes. Like you have to keep track of those, but it's easy to use.
It's really pretty easy. It's a different thing to get used to, but once you're like, oh wow, this isn't bad. Mm-hmm. And then also, man, this feels really cool because I just succeeded on that skill roll, which levels me up as a character level. Heck yeah! Now I get this or this, and that's kind of nice too.
Yeah. So how much player agency is going into character creation, which is what I just read.
As much as we humanly could.
Yeah. All the agency. There's pretty much nothing that is taken away from the player when they're trying to make the character. Are there any limitations or guidelines for character creation?
Very few. I would say the only thing that's hard set is hit points, attributes, but you can literally make your own. You can make your own race. You can make your own backstory. You can add your own profession if you wanted. You could even create your own superpower if you really want to.
And you can like mix and match everything. There's nothing that says you can't use this with this.
Yep.
Ever. So, they have their limits with all the building blocks. How much flexibility do players have in creating their character? I mean, these are all pretty much the same question. Are there any opportunities for character growth or development during gameplay? That's what the whole system's based off of.
Yeah.
Is character growth and development.
We answered a lot of questions before we got to the end of the questions,
Are there any pre-made adventures or campaigns included? Not yet. That's all.
Man, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Not yet. We've talked about it. We've talked about doing small modules because I've played and used a couple modules playing other TTRPGs and stuff, and the ones I've found just like the best as like a GM or something, especially if you're just going to use the module as is, are the short ones that are there to basically teach you the game, or like get the players like through the beginning part of like trying to play their characters and be their characters, or like figure out the game. And those seems to be the best modules out there. So I talked about trying to make a module for each base era that we have in Space Age, which is medieval, Victorian, modern, and Space Age. Oh, colonial. Well,
Yeah, I guess they're really the same era.
Yeah.
They're just named differently based on what side of the world you
Yeah.
are on, which is weird.
that's like colonial is more of a like U.S. thing almost.
It's a Western thing, yeah. That's it. That's just that's what I was thinking of. As just thinking,
colonial implies the colonies. So
Yep.
Yeah.
yep, that's that's what I did.
Right. Son of a bitch.
No.
No.
Could have made it Victorian, didn't. Opportunity missed.
So yeah, no, there's no adventures or campaigns yet, but definitely plan on trying to make some, and we're trying to come up with a few ways to do it.
I mean, the roadmap comes out in 12 days.
Yeah, we're going to discuss and talk about the roadmap here in a couple days, and then after that, in 12 days, the timer on their website right now. If you go and visit it at www.infiniteage.com, it'll show you the timer, and we'll try to have the roadmap out by that time. If it's anything like the crunch time we spent making the book, though, it might be a couple hours late. But
I think the roadmap will be all right.
And again, if you join the Discord and talk in the Discord and stuff like that,
throw your suggestions.
Yeah, throw your suggestions out there. Help us come up with like what to put on the roadmap and like what you guys want to see first and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it'll be very helpful. But no, there's no pre-made adventure campaigns yet. How easy it to learn and teach the new players. I think it's pretty simple to learn, especially if you played other TTRPGs before.
New players, I think anyone could.
New players that's actually like a little hard to have a chance to really show it to anybody new. Everybody that's been close to us has been like
TTRPG related or something, or adjacent.
But we might have an answer for that some other time. We might try to invite some people that haven't played before, and see their thoughts or see how easy it is for them. What kind of support is available from the publishers? Like updates, forums, erratas, changes, hot fixes, stuff like that. How responsive are we to player feedback? And are there any online resource forums available? Yeah, we've kind of talked about that already. Yeah, join the Discord, and
pretty much nothing is off tables as far as community suggestions.
Yeah.
Or like if you download the PDF and you see something that's wrong or something like that, just screenshot it, put it in the suggestions on our Discord. Because like a lot of this stuff is I'm learning all these things. Jeff's learning a lot of stuff. Austin's learning a lot of stuff. We're all still adapting and learning, and even when we're not, I want to stay a company or like a people or designers or whatever.
Pretty much
in the sense that we always help.
Join our Discord and you'll be able to get in touch with us, and we'll do our best to answer whatever questions or problems you have. And it'll be as easy as that. If you don't have a Discord, we've talked about putting a forum page on the website, and if that doesn't work, we can put the company email up somewhere.
The company email is, I think it's tied to our Facebook page, which is linked on the socials as well. So you can find the company email there and always email us if there's like a severe problem.
Oh yeah, just any of the socials too. Just go to the socials and you can probably message us on it.
Yeah, there's probably one that you at least have, and then you can send me a DM or whatever, and I'll figure it out.
Yeah. So finally, number 10. We went through the last couple really fast because we already talked about and answered them, or they're just pretty straightforward. So last set of questions. Are there any content warnings or sensitivity considerations to be aware of? That's a pretty important question. I don't think of anything that comes to mind. Sensitivity or content warning? I mean, nothing in the base book. No, but we didn't make any real... We made the book, we made the system, but there's no content
what really content actually goes into your games.
That's based on you guys. And however you play the game is up to you. So
I think the future of the game as well will retain that, even if we do modules or adventures or anything like that, would be make it fit for anyone of like a child. Like I think when I think of new players too, or new people like coming to the game, like kids, man, like I want them to be able to play the game, and that was we got into like a lot of this stuff when we were very young, like 8 or 12 even, like
or younger.
yeah, or younger. And really, it was just like as soon as there's an interest, I feel like you should be able to do this, and that's why Infinite Ages is way better than what will be.
Yeah, I think like the most like any amount of like quote unquote like graphic it gets is like some of the superpower descriptions. One that basically comes out like the air manipulation, where you like suck the air into somebody's lungs and stuff.
Yeah, there is some violence.
So
described
in
a mechanical way.
Described violence, I guess, is like the only real content warning or sensitivity that really comes to mind.
I almost feel like there's kind of like asphyxiation. You're like, okay, I know what that is. If you don't feel like reading what that is below it, I feel like there is a little bit.
Oh, right. There are statuses that are like illnesses, diseases, but they're all like made up diseases and illnesses for the most part.
So the way the sicknesses and stuff like that work, I used a very basic like principle for what sick or illness or disease would be, and then I left it up to interpretation on where you would add things in or where you would put things together. I really just gave you like a format for how to create sicknesses and illnesses because we have the profession doctor and medical skill, and so things like that will come up, which can be really freaking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of those statuses, I could see a lot of really cool stuff.
So content warning and sensitivity, a tiny bit of like violence / like like
gore maybe,
like very very mild and like timid. And mainly in like the statuses and superpowers.
There's no like graphical things either in the book that will do that. So
no, we're not artists, and we couldn't afford one. No. So there's no like images or anything in the book, or like any sort of like imagery that is.
That is something that we want to do.
Yes,
and if you already own the book, you will get. I think is like a pretty big thing too. Like if we. Because at some point I want to update the book with images and photographs and stuff like that.
Yeah, and anytime we update the book, it'll be posted like what fixes we made in our Discord, so you'll know to go download the book again on the website.
Right, and we're looking at potentially doing something based off the website, so you wouldn't even have to be in the Discord. The issue with that is I generally don't like having like a news subscription to my email. I use it for like whatever I want to use it for, but not all people want that. So that's why we've kind of stuck with the Discord. And then when we do get a forums page or something like that, those things will go onto the website.
And so that's all the questions now. If you guys have any other like questions that come up after watching or listening to this, hit us up on the Discord or anything like that, and send us a list of your questions, and we'll try to make another video or something.
Yeah, make another video, answer the question, whatever we can do.
And look forward to more videos and content and stuff from us and some of the, hopefully we can get the other creators and some friends in on it. Might try to play like a game and talk about things and answer questions, or might try to play Infinite Ages with a group of people, and we might try to get some new people into that and see how it goes.
Right now, I am looking. I'm gonna, for the people that do join the Discord, this is something that you guys could know, is that if you've purchased the book and joined the Discord, I'm thinking about running maybe like a few GM games by me. So that's also an opportunity that people might be interested in, things like that. So, I mean, it's not anything special. I'm not a big
pretty sick. You'd be, telling the first people to play a game with the guy who created the book. That sounds pretty cool to me.
But like that's pretty much like the only thing I can think of that I would add to the Discord thing. So we'll
nice
see you guys next
talking. Yeah, see you guys later.